Hello, everybody. We are live here for Chooser Talks. Now, Chooser Talks is all about getting to know an individual and getting to find out what makes them brilliant, what do they care about, how their career reflects that, and what motivates them to keep going. Now, today's guest we have is Luca. Now, Luca is, I would say, he likes to create life or make the life as a gamification. So he's coaching into that and helping you prepare for the future without losing balance. He's got a hero academy where you become the hero of your own story and level up to become the best version of yourself. But enough for my introduction. Luca is the best person to tell us all of this. Let me just invite Luca up. Just give me a second. I see you there, Luca. Let me just invite you up. Just give me a minute. Okay, I have accepted your. Hey, Luca, how are you
There we
doing?
go. Hey, Zishan. Hi, everyone. I am happy to be here and I'm excited to share my journey.
Wonderful. Thank you for taking the time out and coming on board as well. And I love this orange tint going around in your place as well. So that is brilliant. So I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand on it and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and that everybody asks on Tuesdays Talks every time is, why do you do it, Luke?
Yeah, I have been on this gamification journey for quite some time. So it all started with me quitting my studies, and I was deeply unsatisfied with the education journey that I was on because it always felt like a drag. I was either overwhelmed or was underwhelmed, and it took me a long time to figure out that it just wasn't working for me, but that did.
Have we lost Luke here by the looks of it? Okay, let's see if Luke comes back. It looks like he's dropped off. I am not sure. I'm not too sure what happened, Luke. Let's see if we can get you back on. Hey, welcome back.
There we go. Okay. So, um, yeah, thanks again for inviting me back to it. So, my story is basically how I was dissatisfied with education and I wanted to change that. And it started with me quitting my studies because I really was lost after graduating because school did not prepare me for the future. And I wanted to help other people so they don't have to go through that as well. So for me, something that always resonated was video games. I loved playing games and I was always engaged when I played them. And I learned so much through them. And then over time, I figured, why can school not be more like a game? And
Mm.
when that hit, I think it actually started with Mindvalley, or they were one of the triggers because Jim Quick did his quest on um, the super brain. I was like, yeah, this is the education that we needed. We need this quest format where you have like actionable things that you get to complete, like in a video game. And this inspired me so much that I actually ended up quitting my studies and really thought about, okay, what do I want to do? And I knew it was something with video games and I knew it was something with education. And I'd say I'm still on this journey to discover this. And it really is a journey, and it's this hero's journey because like we really are the heroes of our own journey because we get to make these choices. And this was tough for me to get out, because I was studying something that my parents were very happy about, that like I was studying, and me telling them like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to try something on my own, was like the first step that I took to become this hero, to start finding my purpose. And eventually, like, I don't think I have it yet. It's more like a discovery process, but it's getting closer and closer. So now, after 3 years, or it was actually 5 years after I quit my studies, I actually did study something else because it was then aligned. Because I knew I wanted to do something with education. I knew I wanted to create my own business. I knew I wanted to help other people with technology, because technology just scales. And I knew the importance of artificial intelligence. So I kind of combined that. I studied business IT on the side. I started teaching because I knew I wanted to go into education. So I started a YouTube channel. This is still going until this day. I am doing this full time now. The last year I've traveled throughout Europe to explore the best education systems. Here I was in Finland, I was in Tallinn. We actually met together in Tallinn because
Yes, that's
I
right.
still believe Mindvalley is one of the best education companies that they are. So I take inspiration from all of these people, from all of these teachers that I also interview on my podcast. And ultimately, I want to help other people turn their life more into a game, so they can become the hero of their own story, so they can share with like their struggles, because that's ultimately what a hero is. A hero shares their struggles, gives their experience to someone else, so we learn from that. And I think that's why like every teacher can be a hero if they share their struggles, if they don't just blindly follow the curriculum, but they actually think about, it's like, okay, what do my students need right now? What do they need to learn? What do I have to give from myself? And I'm trying to do that as much as I can with the Hero Academy as well, where I really go step by step through that. But I think the only question that I'm missing is like, why am I doing this?
Yes,
So
I was gonna come up to that. I was like, okay, you know, so I said, let's, if we spin that around, I would say, okay, you know, what's driving you to do this and help others now? You know, why you're doing all this?
yeah, it's mostly because I don't want anyone in school to kind of waste their potential, because school kind of does that. And it's not the fault of the teachers, because the teachers have not learned that any other way. And I think there is so much potential in kids and like children these days growing up with artificial intelligence. And I think if we fix education, if we make education fun, if we make it engaging, if we teach about how to balance your life so you don't end up burning out, these are the things that like we can tackle at the root with education. And this is why I want to kind of like put my impact there, and hope this is where I can have the biggest impact, and like helping others, and ultimately, well, elevate humanity through the education. Because the better the education is, the better everyone ends up.
And I really love that. I think each generation that has come around has always thought of the same thing for education, right? So, you know, people who love music and everything, it's like, why can't the, you know, education can be turned into something, some nice songs and things like that, right? We can learn through that, you know, because you can learn a song in 5-10 minutes, right? And you can't learn a text book stuff for like weeks, right? You're there trying to study it. So there's always been, so how can you make it fun? And I love your idea of, you know, gamifying it, because let's say, you know, 90% of us are gaming, whether you're young or old. We are all gamers most of the time. We are playing one sort of a game. So, and I love the idea, and I love your recently that you've been posting those reels at the moment, you know, how you also had this I think a workshop where people were actually physically gamifying the area, right? Take us through that. What was that about?
Yeah, in the workshop that I held, it starts with discovering that you are a hero by just making your own choices. And there's this concept of an NPC, which is a non-playable character. So when you are playing video games, you have these NPCs around you. And I still remember when I was an NPC, that was most like still after school. I didn't know what to do. So I was just kind of applying at like a random job. And I was at a cashier and I repeated this one sentence, like, hey, would you like to get like the promotional card? And it's like, I was just so tired of that. I was like, it really does feel like an NPC because I'm just doing these like one thing at a time. I'm being told, like, I do what I'm being told. I don't think for myself. And this is the first step to really break out of this life as an NPC, to realize like, hey, I can choose what I want to do. I can choose how to live my life. I can choose the activities. And from there on, it's mostly about thinking like, okay, well, if I can choose what kind of life I want to live, then it's about creating this life. So this can start with a vision wall. This can start with just creating a poster on the things that you want to complete. This can start with like thinking about your massive transformative purpose, but thinking about the future and then trying to make the future in a reality and turning that into a game. And I like to do this with quests because it structures this. It's very difficult to say, I want to stop climate change because it's too big, right? Like you can have this as a future, as an inspiration, but it ends up overwhelming you. It ends up kind of burning you out because like I alone cannot do that. And even with the help of others, it's not something that I can do. But something that you can do is have a quest on saying, let me educate myself with climate change. And let me read this book by Bill Gates on kind of reaching carbon zero. It's like, oh, okay, so I can do this. And then I can break this book down into its chapters and like, okay, I did this. And then I did the next thing. And this in itself is so rewarding intrinsically because you do what you want to do and you see the progress, you see how much you have done already. And then if you want to take this even further, you can reward yourself extrinsically. For example, when I completed my bachelor thesis, I got myself a PS5 because like, hey, this is a huge step in my life. I've been working 3 years on this. Let me reward myself. And this is something that video games do all the time, but we don't really take the time to like actually celebrate. It's always to the next project, to the next thing. Like in Germany, we have this concept called Bergfest, which means that when you do reach the peak of the mountain, you take some time and you actually enjoy the view. And I think this is that these are the steps that I am going through the workshop essentially.
I really love that, you know, in terms of what that workshop is taking people through, right? In terms of realization of, hang on a minute, we are not just the NPC players, which we become somehow. We weren't NPC players to begin with. You know, you were already evolving, doing your own things and everything. At some point, this life became a stagnant, taking orders, doing what others are telling you thing somehow. And then this is where society led you to it, right? Being a cashier, being in a role that you have to turn up at a time because it's some, you know, it's their time that you have to clock in and all that stuff, whatever you have to do, right? But you had somebody else's time. And I love that you are saying, hang on a minute, you don't need to be that. You can make your own decisions. You can do what you want to do. You can do what you like to do. And how you can do it, you know, I'm gonna probably say you have to just start earlier. Realization. It's not like a quick transition, like, okay, today I've realized this, tomorrow I'm gonna just start change. Tomorrow everything is gonna change. But it's gonna be a slow progress. And I love that you mentioned, right, the climate change, for example. It's a huge thing. I would love to help and change that, but I alone cannot do it. Even with others, is a challenge, right? So how many people for how many years been doing this? But we still hear the same stories every time. But if we are educating ourselves and then we're helping educating others at the same time, it's gonna create a mass impact. Then they are maybe waking up other NPC players like, hey, you know, you come and play the game. You can actually, you are your own character. It's a bit like waking up in the Matrix, right?
It is very much like that. And I think we are so close to that, especially with artificial intelligence becoming more and more dominant. If you look at virtual reality with like Facebook literally rebranding themselves to Meta to become this virtual reality company. And this is like the start of that. And this is the future that we will live in. And like, I think like a lot of people think like, okay, smartphones are big, but I don't think like enough people realize how much technology will change our lives. Just take a look at how much COVID did that. Changed our lives. Like no one is talking about COVID anymore, but that's just like a couple of years ago. And the progress that is happening nowadays is so fast, and it's so hard to keep track of that. And that's why I wanted to have a system that shows me this is where I was last year, this is where I'm right now. And with that, like the more accurate the system is, the more accurate I can predict my future. Because I know exactly, it's like, okay, at the moment I'm having these quests. When I'm done with the quest, I start a new quest. And with that, I can not only plan my life, but it helps like really, it's just such a big motivation because you understand how much you've accomplished. And like everyone has a bad day. Like I'm currently struggling in Croatia because like I don't really know like how to market things. I'm still learning how to do the online marketing. This is not something that I've really learned before. So I'm struggling with that. But I do enjoy that. And I see like these times when I was like, does this even make sense? I can go back and see like, oh, I've done all of these things. And I basically created this undeniable proof of my success in the past that helps me propel myself forward and say, hey, I managed to do all of these things in the past. And now I help other people to realize like, you have done so much, and we just forget that. Like when you think about your New Year's resolution, you think like, what did I do last year? It's like, but when you are just doing this reflection once a year, you can think of like maybe 5 things that you've done throughout the year. Exactly. Because like recency bias is just like, it like locks all the memories in there. But like, you have done so much in 1 year. And if you actually were to see all the tasks that you completed, all the quests that you completed, and you're like, what? Yeah. How did I manage to do that? So that's kind of like part of playing the game and actually like seeing your progress and seeing your levels across them.
I really love that. So I wanted to ask, so how do you track this progress? Is there a system that you created where you're logging everything you are doing on a daily basis, monthly basis, and seeing what the successes were, so that by the end of the year, when you are actually reflecting, you have from January 1st to December 31st, right?
Yeah, I did create a system. It took me a few tries to make it. And this is something that I also realized because I wanted to give other people the system so they can use it. So we essentially all play the same game together. And it took me a long time to get it simple. In the past, it was quite complicated. I did this in Google Docs, and I was super happy on like how complicated I made it. And then I realized like, well, like the more complicated it is, the fewer people are going to use it. And that's why Apple is so successful, because they make it simple. So that's what I've been focusing on, making it simple. So the system all works in Notion. You can set your quests. You can check them off, and the score is automatically calculated. And with that, you actually see your level as you're completing these quests. And you can decide in like which areas you want to level up, and you can choose whatever areas you have. So body, mind, soul, family, friends, like it's your choice, it's your life. And for each of them, you can choose quests and just the difficulty. And then if you check them off, you get points for that. And if you want, you can break that down, but it's all optional. It's like, how much do you want to use the system? Personally, I use it every day, but like I build it. If you just use it on like to get an idea what you're doing this month, that works fine. Like as long as you just track what you're doing and you see your progress, like all power to you. It's about like seeing your progress, seeing how far you've come, and then planning in the future and seeing like, oh, I did this in the past, now I can do this in the future.
I really love that you worked on the system, and like any person who creates something is always like a difficult version first, because you're putting everything in there, right? And then you're like, okay, but yeah, but I can use it because I created it, but we need to simplify it so that everybody loves it, right? And simple stuff actually works a lot more for everybody, so that everybody can use it, and I love that. And so, how are you able to help others, and how are others able to access that system of yours if they need to?
So that's the whole reason why I built this in Notion. It's a very simple tool. You don't need any coding skills for that. You can think of it as Word and Excel on steroids. So if you can use Word and if you can use Excel, I actually think it's easier than Excel because it has blocks. It's very similar to WordPress, but I even think WordPress is overcomplicated. So Notion allows you to build almost anything and you can just duplicate it. So it's a website. You can access it from everywhere and you can share it with other people. And they just press a button, it's duplicated, and now they have my system in their Notion page. And it takes like less than 5 seconds. And eventually I'll probably build an app. But for now, for the early phases, like I'm still in year 3 now, Notion works very well. And like I have not run into any like limitations that kind of told me it's like, oh, I need to like build my own app now.
I like that. So I am familiar with Notion myself. So this is great. And so if people wanted to gain access to this, how can they do it? They reach out to you? Is it something they have to sign up to?
So it's in my YouTube videos, I share my templates for free because I want the templates to be kind of seen by everyone. I'm currently working on a new video on an updated version. I think last year I created one on like how to gamify your goals in Notion. And every year I'm basically kind of updating this, but it's also integrated in the Hero Academy where I go step by step through it, and it's a little bit more of a curated experience. And you also get the whole aspect and philosophy behind like, okay, how can you align your different areas? How can you choose your quests? How can you kind of like level up and have this whole system with you? Because without if you're familiar with Notion, you can use it right away. I still think some explanation is still nice there, so that is there. The name of the platform is Notion.
I really like that. And so take us through your the Hero Academy a little bit more. What's the story behind it, and how is it going, and how can people sign up to that if they need to?
Yeah, the Hero Academy is something that inspired me when I was watching an anime. It's called My Hero Academia, and it's this world where everyone has superpowers. So basically everyone does have them. And in this world, it just became natural that there were superheroes and then supervillains. And being a hero was just a regular job. And I was like, that's so cool. And then the people in there were trained in an academy. And I was like, well, like, why don't we have this? Why don't we get to train in an academy where we learn these superpowers? Because in the world that we are living in, something like programming, something like artificial intelligence, something like knowing how to like design things nicely or how to speak and tell stories, all of them are superpowers.
Yes.
But none of them are taught anywhere. And that's why it's like, okay, how can we, like, why don't we have this? And like, well, like, if it's not there, maybe I am supposed to kind of like create this. Maybe like I am the one who can like create this and enable more superheroes to be in the world, because we really don't have a lack of problems like climate change and artificial intelligence and COVID crisis. And I think this is just the beginning. Like, as we continue to move in this ever moving future that continues to accelerate, we'll have to act more like superheroes. And especially if we compare ourselves to our ancestors, in every sense of the word, we are superheroes. We can fly to other continents. We can communicate instantaneously across the globe. We can kind of record and take pictures. Like our ancestors would have been burned at the stake if they were talking about something like that. So we are these superheroes, but we don't act like that. And that's what I want to do with the academy, to say, hey, you are a hero. You just need to take control of your life. And with the control, you get to choose how to live. What are your areas? What are the things that you want to work on and where you want to level up? And then I introduce the whole system on how you can do that with Notion, and how you can think about like the guides that help you and inspire you, and creating your vision board. And like a lot of these things are like already used in personal growth, but I felt like they weren't put together in the way that it makes sense for people who are just coming out of school. It was, or at least that's how I felt. And we actually created a sub community from Mind Valley on like just a bunch of young people coming together, talking about like how we want to change the future. And we're all like, but like there's so much out there, and like there isn't this overlining structure. And the same thing with school. There wasn't like something that connected everything, except maybe like Lifebook, and that's kind of where a lot of the inspiration came from. And like the same thing, I like to take the best pieces of everything, and that's why I travel through Europe to think about, okay, Finland does this great, Tallinn does this great, but like Spain does this great. How can I combine this in like this one academy that teaches you how to be a hero, how to be the hero of your own story, how to manage these modern superpowers? And this is something that I'm still doing, and I'm super excited about that. And I'm very happy that like this continues to grow. And every month I let in like 10 heroes for free, because I don't want this to kind of like be locked away behind a paywall. So like you can apply and you can kind of get on the wait list to get in the next cohort. So November is full, but December is coming up. So there is like a potential new slots for that. And I think with that, it continues also to be like this graduation, because once you have gone through the course, it only starts, because that's where you start playing the game of life. And everything that I'm talking about in the academy is also available online, but it's not as structured. And this is something that I learned a lot on, like making it simple, right? Like all of the things that I'm talking about are out there, but they're not made simple. They're not short. It takes a long time to like put the pieces together. And I'm like, hey, I have done the work. You don't have to go through the same journey. Like this is like how I gamify that. And you don't have to use everything. Just use what feels right for you. You can implement the areas. You can implement the concept of leveling up. You can implement this concept of, hey, let me celebrate my wins and let me enjoy the view on top of the mountain. And as long as I just help one person with one thing, then I feel like I've done my job.
That's actually very noble as well. You know, the whole concept behind it of Hero Academy. I really love that in terms of making it simple for everybody. You know, there's so much out there. The information is in abundance at this time of the age, and therefore we are heroes. We are all superheroes, because as you said, you know, in our forefathers' time, this would have been like you're talking about magic. You'll be burned at the stake. You're a witch, right, or something. Right? You're crazy. But it's great that that you know you're able to see and then sort it out for others. Like, okay, there's so many things out there, but let's make it relevant to you and make the journey shorter, instead of you going to the deep sea of YouTube's, deep sea of Google searches, you know, deep sea of whatever that they are searching at. So rather than that, hey, I've done this all the journey. I've collated it for you and gamified it for you so that it is fun and it's interesting, and you know you're looking at the rewards at the end, because we all want that. You know, we want to celebrate success. So let's do that. And I love that you were able to create that. So I'll recommend anybody who's listening to us now live on Instagram or as a podcast later, go to Luke's Instagram. I'm sure there's a link there which will take you to everything that he is doing. If not, just reach out to him and drop him a message. He's very quick to reply as well. So yeah, do that. Is there any other way people can reach out to you as well, Luke?
I'm active on all social media. Instagram is probably the best way to reach me, but LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube are also viable options, and I'm creating content on all platforms, even though it is quite overwhelming. But I think I want to reach as many people and help as many. So that's why I think this is the way to go. So you can reach me anywhere. Holy Game, and you'll find me.
Nice. I really like that. So everybody do that, reach out. And if so far what you've heard and you think, yeah, I want to gamify my life, wake up the NPC player, take my own decisions, do things that I wanted to do, reach out to Luke, because he's making interesting strides, and that's how we got connected in Tallinn as well. So I was just looking at how you were seeing things, how you were creating stuff, and I was like, this is the way, this is how it's supposed to be done. You are seeing it and you are like, okay, why not just do it? It's there. Let's just do it, rather than just look at it and be non-responsive, right? Let's give a response and let's do that. So, and you just mentioned that, right? So you are on all media platforms out there, so in all socials and everything, right? So you're trying to reach as many people as you like. So, and that at one point must be getting all overwhelming for you. How are you managing this for yourself? Obviously, you've got your academy as well and everything. So how are you managing your time?
Yeah, in a way, it's funny because we teach the things that we need to learn, and this overwhelm, this having to do too many things at once. I always felt like I had this under control, but now I'm seeing like, oh, okay, I can only do a few things right. And what really helped me, first of all, having the experience of just doing like YouTube for 3 years now, and Twitter for 2, and Instagram for like 4 or 5. So I do have the background, and it's not like I am relearning this from scratch. And then also outsourcing the things that I can. So I'm working together with Laurie. We help each other out. I have a team that I basically, instead of micromanaging, this is a mistake that I did in the past. It's like, hey, you take care of this part, and really allowing others to run with it. Kind of outsourcing the things. Like, I cannot do anything. I can do anything, but I cannot do everything. So I can choose what I want to do, and it's mostly one thing, and something that really helped me with that. And I get, like, every time I ignore this, I get reminded with this very harshly. It's like, hey, I need to go back to these seasons of life, because we all grew up with seasons. We grew up a season like in the spring where you get all this energy, and then in summer where you get to perform, you're outside, the sun is shining, it's amazing. But then fall comes and you need to like really bring this harvest in. It's like, okay, let me like make sure that everything that I learned throughout the year, everything that I've made is like solid, and kind of like strapping it together. And then as we approach winter now, like I realized, okay, I need to take this time to reflect. I need this time to like go in myself and realize, like, is the thing that I'm doing still the right path? And this is why, like, what I also do with the New Year's, like, what do I want to do next? And not focusing on like everything, but just choosing, I'm doing this, and at the moment I'm doing everything in the Hero Academy, and everything else comes from that. And that's why everything is aligned. So before I felt burnt out because I was doing like a million different things, and now now it's more aligned. So when I go out, like, I want to see my friends, I want to see my family, I want to kind of like exercise and read and like talk about business. And like, I cannot do everything, but something that I can do, and this is why I love Mindvalley so much, is meet my friends, exercise with them while talking about business, and kind of like going deep into spirituality and meditation, because I'm doing everything at once in alignment, I'm not feeling overwhelmed because I'm just doing one thing. This one thing happens to just check off multiple boxes. And with that, like it's something that I'm still struggling with, especially now in Croatia, because I don't have my environment around me. I don't have my friends around me. And I had to relearn this, and I was really struggling. It's like, how can I create all this content? How can I like do everything? It's like, I don't have to. I just need to focus on this one thing. And like also breaking this down to like one day. It's like, you cannot have 5 most important things in one day. You can have one most important thing in one day.
Yeah.
And if I get this one thing done, then I count my day as a success. And I don't allow myself to feel bad about this day because I haven't gotten done 4, 6, 8 things. Like, no, I got this one thing done. And this was in alignment what I wanted to do. So for today, this was actually the podcast. The podcast was my thing that I wanted to do. Yesterday, it was recording. Tomorrow, it is kind of writing content pieces for the next week. But it's just one thing. And it's all aligned with everything else that I'm doing. So my YouTube, my Twitter, my Instagram, these are not separate things. These are all one thing because I have to write content anyways. I have to script my videos anyways. I have to kind of like edit the podcast anyways. Might as well use this in these platforms. Might as well repurpose this content. Might as well kind of align these things so they work together and they start supporting each other. Because as soon as your areas start helping each other and start supporting each other, it doesn't feel like you have to do more, but like it makes it easier.
I love that. I actually love that. And I love the expansion on, like everything that you're doing, but you focus on to one and, using various examples of that things that you are trying to do, checking off sub boxes in there, where you were able to hang out whilst you were uplifting yourself. You were able to hang out with your friends, catch up, meditate, exercise, talk deep. Everything was being done. And also when you talked about the social media side of things, you got to do the edits anyway. So why not just do one edit and then repurpose those edits and for the other social media platforms? And it's sort of smart thinking. Why work hard when you can work smart? And I love that. And I was going to say that, right? So you're working smart rather than hard, because a lot of people think we need to work hard to get things done. Actually, it's the other way around. You need to work smart and so get everything done. So I love that you shared this, and that's what my takeaway was from what you just said, that to work smart, not hard. And also, so you mentioned your meditation and all that stuff. So the best thing I wanted to ask you is now, what's your routine? Is there a certain morning routine for you?
Yes. So I think the morning routine starts in the evening. So something that I do in the evening is, so in a moment, I'm going to switch out my glasses so I don't expose myself to blue light. I prepare breakfast, so I don't do this in the morning. When I do wake up, I take some time to just like snuggle with my girlfriend in bed, but like it is a timer. So like, okay, after sometimes like, okay, I need to get up now because otherwise I'll fall asleep. And I end up being more tired if I oversleep. So from there on, I move into some stretches. I do some yoga and sometimes into exercise, depending. I like to exercise 3 times a week. So if it works, exercise or not, but always doing some stretches. Then here I have to maintain a fire. So that kind of was a bit tricky to like include in my routine because it was just cold. It was just super cold if I didn't do that. So I had to do this. And then I like to stimulate myself early in the morning by getting something creative done. So that's the most important thing. This is me filming videos. This is me writing content. This is me like working on something. And then I like to consume something. So first I create because it's still me. I haven't been like deluded my mind with like external things and cluttered myself with other people's agenda. I start by creating what do I need, and then I start consuming about what I want to learn. So for example, at the moment I'm reading the 100 million leads from Alex Hormozi, I kind of like summarize this and I go deep into that. And then in the evening, it's more reaching out, catching up with people, engaging, having calls, because like the work is done. And now I get to share what I've been working on. I get to share like the things that I get to connect with people. And for me, this is easy. So it doesn't require effort. It's not easy, but it energizes me. So I like to do this in the evening when my energy levels are already a little bit lower. And then at around 6 p.m., I guess I did like everything now, but at around 6 p.m., I usually just relax and watch. I love anime, I love video games. I still like to keep up to date with like Marvel shows. And it almost feels like this is a side job in itself, but it is a very nice way for me to relax and ease into the evening.
That's actually a very exciting way of starting a day already in the evening, and I love that, because I've not come across, usually people say that okay, they're preparing in the evening to close the day so that they can then start the day in the morning, right? But you are already starting the day whilst you're closing the day at the same time. So even though you're preparing, you said from 6 o'clock you're relaxing yourself, easing down, having a look at the games that you play and watch the anime, whichever you fancy that time. But at the same time, you're also changing your glasses so that you're avoiding the blue light, and then prepping yourself for the breakfast in the morning and everything. And everything is timed as well, so for alarms and stuff. And so in the morning, you just wake up, you're ready for breakfast and everything. You don't have to then spend more time onto it. And I love that. That is amazing. To do. It's a bit like when they say you've got big events happening, people are like, oh yeah, just let's get everything ironed out, polish your shoes, get your shirt pressed, and also have it ready. But you do that for the big events, right? People try to think of these things like, oh, we have to leave in the morning. But if you're doing that on a regular basis, you are basically ready whatever comes your way in the morning, because everything is prepped, everything is ready. Even if you had a rude awakening that you're not feeling it this morning, but everything is ready. So I can only imagine that the mood will be okay, because you don't have to now make something. You don't have to like go out of your way to do something. Oh, I need to make breakfast. Oh my God, it's there, it's done, ready. I love that. I mean, I would suggest to people who will be listening to try it out, because I always say some things might work for you, some things might not work for you, but we have to try it and find what's the best way for us to do these things. Now I'm also thinking of, you said you like to work out three times in a week, and at the moment, so is there a certain workout that you do or something that keeps you also, active? I know a lot of people get triggered by the word exercise, so let's say we won't use the word exercise or movement or something like that, which keeps you, active in terms of like, okay, we need to do this. And why is it so important for the people who don't like to work out or move?
Yeah, I was always exercising when I was young, but back then it was more of an ego thing. I wanted to just like look strong and fit and get a girlfriend. And that was my motivation back then. But I wasn't actually enjoying working out. I wasn't enjoying going to a gym and just lifting these weights. It wasn't something that, like, I know a lot of friends who like, it's like, yeah, that's my thing. But like, it wasn't something that was fun for me. And now I'm really focusing on like, okay, what is fun for me? So I love playing volleyball because again, it checks off multiple boxes, especially like beach volleyball, because then I'm also outside. I can take a swim. It can be connected with other things. And something that I also really like doing is I have a flow staff and swords and bows, and I just play around with them. And it doesn't feel like exercise, but like I'm panting afterwards. I'm soaked. And
wow.
Like it is an exercise, but it doesn't feel like it because like I'm listening to an audiobook during that time where like there's maybe like an exciting scene and I'm running around and I'm pretending to be the main character and I just twirl around my staff and I just enjoy myself and I have fun. And this kept me like healthy and fit throughout the time. I think about, not like, oh, I need to get this exercise done, but it's something that I get to do. It's like, yes, I get to practice my handstand because I love being able to like balance myself and like challenge myself. And it's not something that I always hated when going to the gym, is like you just see a number going up and it's like, yeah, whatever. And but when you go into like something like a handstand, it's you learn a skill and you get better at that over time. And I just love these skill-based exercises where you don't just do that for the sake of exercise, but you have intrinsic motivation as well as extrinsic motivation, as well as the social element. And I try to really stack as many of those flow triggers on top of each other so I can maximize my own happiness and like enjoyment.
I really love that, and I really love that you know, the flow that you created so that you can actually enjoy the life, and it's just flowing, and I really love that. So I remember you're also mentioning earlier about your marketing side of things, so marketing and so forth, and you know, it's a challenge and a struggle. What would you recommend to people who are listening to this? Do you think it's something that you can also outsource? You know, you don't really need to learn everything, and everything you can learn about it, you can see, but is that something you want to do yourself?
I actually don't think you can outsource anything if you don't know how to do it yourself. Because I did try this. I tried outsourcing video editing to someone before knowing how to edit videos myself, and it just was not right. I did not get the results that I wanted. And then it's like, that was last year around this time where I was like, okay, like, let me figure out how this editing works myself. And it took me like 3 months to figure this out. And I didn't have to get perfect at it, but I needed to understand the language. What is an L cut? What's a J cut? How do I do a transition? How can I capture the attention? And this allows me now to tell my editor, I want you to do exactly that. And I can be more specific with my feedback because I know how to do it. I can direct him. And I think at the moment I'm in the same phase with marketing. Like of course I could like hire an Instagram agency and say, hey, like please run my ads. But like, first of all, I wouldn't learn anything. And for me, like learning the part is like half the fun because it's kind of like building Legos. Like the fun part is building the Lego, not having the done Lego piece. And me just having the done Lego piece would be like, yeah, but like, I didn't do that. And it doesn't feel like it's mine. And I want to build it myself. So that's why I'm heavily going into like Alex Hermosi, and I'm looking at like these people who do great marketing, and I want to learn from them. And eventually I want to like interview them on my podcast. And I kind of see myself as like, I want to learn about all the things. Like this is one of the purest intrinsic motivations. I just love learning stuff. And that's why I love business, because it is so hard. It is incredibly difficult. But because it's so difficult, I get to learn more and more and more and more. And with like, let's take exercise. There's only so much you can learn. My sister studies fitness and nutrition and prevention. And she's like, exercise is kind of like, you just do it. And there is not that much more to it. You just have to like go through like some mental blocks. But with like business, there's psychology, and then there's marketing, and then there's like how to design the things, and then like how to leverage your creativity and how to speak to the people. And like, even though it's the hardest thing that I've ever done, it's also the thing where I'm learning the most. And that's why I love hard video games, because they teach me something. And I love it when I don't get to beat the boss the first time, because it actually feels rewarding. It's like, yes, I did this. It took me like 15 tries and I lost like everything, but I did it. I made it. And this is something that I also want to do in business. This is something that I have done with like my body, with my mind, with my soul. Like I learned more or less everything myself, or like from other people, and then started iterating. And yeah, it's just this pursuit of learning and like being challenged. And there are very few things that are as rewarding and as frustrating at the same time.
I actually love that. What I'm taking away from that that there is, is best to have challenging situations so that you can learn, and then when you are ready, you can then get other people to do the task because you've learned it, you now know it, you're moving on to bigger and better things. Now you're like, okay, I know these things, how to do it, but is my time enough? Is my time more valuable now that I can give this time to, give this task to somebody else, so that my time can be spent on something more valuable now that I can now again learn and grow from that, right? So you've done this, you've it's like you've climbed the summit, now you're now enjoying the view and like, okay, somebody else can have this, and then let's grow to something even other side of the business, because so every businesses have like 10 different sides, right? So I love that. So it's great, so that you share that, is to learn it, grow on it, and then when you're ready, we need to outsource it, give it to
Yes.
somebody else, so that you can focus on to still building the business, because no one task is going to build a business. You need to make sure all 10, 20 tasks that are a part of your business needs to be working in flow simultaneously, right? So we can't give one the more attention and not the other. So otherwise, what will happen is, your car, which has 4 tires, and you looked after the 3 tires and not the one, and that tire is going to just fall off one day, and then you're stuck, right? So I really love that was a picture was coming in my mind, and I took away that. So one thing I also wanted to ask was, we will be wrapping this up shortly as well soon, but I really love your journey that you've just shared with us, and amazing gamification of life is just amazing that you've shared in terms of how you can make yourself a non-player character, the NPC, which we all become whilst we are just dealing with what we like to call life, and that's why we just say, oh, it is what it is. Well, it is not what it is. It is what you create of it. It is, right? So we can create the life we want. We can play the way we want. At the end, it's what you want is what you're gonna get, right? So if you're stuck if you're standing at the same place every day and thinking of a different outcome, that's not gonna happen. It's still gonna get the same outcome because you're still at the same place. And that's what I'm thinking of, all these things that I've learned from our conversation that I'm gonna take away and implement it. And I will 100% recommend everybody to go and follow, Luke. What was it again? Holy Gamer?
Holy Gamer on Instagram, but if you look Holy Game up anywhere, it's with a I, because it's holistic gamified education. Doesn't have to do anything with the Bible. It's just Holy Game and playing the game of life.
I love that. I thought it was hologram. That's why. There you go. So another tech guy here. So I'm like, okay, I thought it was hologram gamer. I don't know.
No.
So I really love that. So okay, so Holy Gamer, I'll definitely check out, and I love your academy idea there as well. The academy, and obviously it's working because you've got people there, and you do take in 10 people for free as well in your academy. So definitely, guys, put in the applications, and fingers crossed that you get in for free. I'd definitely recommend that. So before we do close our conversation, a couple of questions that I ask all of my guest. So what would you like, the things now, what would you have appreciated that you know now, but you would have appreciated in your teenage years?
I think it's mostly about like sticking after your path. So I would tell my teenage self to continue doing what I was doing, to continue questioning the things that didn't seem to work, but also thinking about something. And this is what I would be doing differently, is thinking like, okay, who are you actually helping with this? Because a lot of content that I created in the past was coming from a place of I need to prove myself. I need to like show how much I'm doing, because like ultimately it came from a place of like me not feeling enough. And this completely switched when I was like, okay, like I'm not doing this for myself. Like I do want to help people, but it never came across as that. And this started to switch when I started to talk from like, what do the people need to hear? What do they need from my experience? Not what do I want to share, but what do others actually need? And for me, it's like, well, like, enjoy the game of life. It's the funnest thing that there is. And just like play and balance it in a way that you're not falling down, and like appreciate how far you've come and like see the progress. So yeah, ultimately I would tell myself, continue going, but don't do it to prove yourself, but to help others.
I love that. I love that. And the last question before we wrap this up would be also, like, what would you like the people who've been listening to us to take away from our conversation today?
Don't be an NPC. You are the hero of your life. You can make your own decisions. You can choose how you want to live. And with that mentality, you will go so much further in the future, because you are learning what you need to learn in that moment. Everything you need is right here. You just need to use it. And you need to open your eyes and wake up to this incredible game that we're all playing together.
I really love that. I might even use that as a title, so I wrote it down as when you said it, don't be an NPC, you're the hero of your life. I really love that as well. So I might put that as a title of our conversation. Luke, thank you very much for coming on to Tuesday Talks, and I wish you all the best in your remainder part of the year that's left now, and all the success that you're going to get in 2024 coming as well. For everybody that today the date is 21st November, that when we recorded this. Do you have anything upcoming that you want people to look into or sign up to that you want to share, or is your academy is available all year round?
I am continuously working on the Hero Academy to make it as good as it possibly can be. So we have more heroes in the world who are helping others, teaching others, and sharing their experiences, so we can all learn and grow up and level up together.
I love that. Thank you very much, Luke, for sharing that. So before we do wrap up this, everybody who's been listening to Tuesday Talks live on Instagram, or now as in podcast, which has been done after a few months, it is our duty now to share this episode with whomever comes to your mind, if you had a aha or a spark in yourself as well after this conversation. If you had, so this is our duty now to share with whomever, because that spark that we had is the spark that we need the other person to have as well. And that spark might just change their life. They might take that action. They might take that step that is just needed for them to move forward, or change or gamify their life, as we are talking about today. So please make sure you share this episode with whomever that comes to your mind or you think should be watching this. So tag them on the comments below if you like it, or if you have any comments for Luke or any questions, start a conversation below, guys. I'm sure Luke and I would love to answer those for you. Luke, thank you very much for your time as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you, Zishan. Everyone who's listening, thank you. And I do appreciate you guys. So see you soon.
Bye-bye.